Welcome to the Iris planet, a world that mirrors Earth in size and gravity, yet resides in a dimension known as Exiles, or the embodied fantasy. This is a world of volatile history, driven by relentless competition for resources and power. To understand its modern era, we must first know its unique geography. Though 3/4 the radius of Earth, its gravitational pull is identical, forging a civilization both familiar and strange. Orbiting this world are two critical strategic satellites. Remkas, a desolate, rocky moon, yet an absolute treasure trove of vital resources, from rare earth metals to platinum and uranium. Its resources are the foundation of global energy and the epicenter of political conflict. Fossilors, habitable by water life only. Fossilors possesses a dense, toxic, purple-green atmosphere and is famed for its elusive flying islands, a marvel of natural science and a potential future battlefield. Before the modern age, life on the Iris planet was largely agrarian and feudal. Inazuma, for instance, was ruled by the absolute authority of the Raiden shogun, a system heavily influenced by Shinto beliefs. Meanwhile, powerful external forces like the Liyue Empire, also known as Morax, exerted colonial pressure through taxation and resource control, setting the stage for inevitable global upheaval. The modern age truly began in the shadow of the devastating Archon Wars. Around 11,576 AC, a singular power, the Liyue Empire, or Morax, began its ascent. Capitalizing on post-war chaos, Liyue distinguished itself with relatively fair governance in its core regions and strategic control over vital commodities like jade, copper, and the prized crimson salt. The defining moment came with the Age of Exploration, around 11,599 AC. You see, bolstered by their formidable naval fleets, truly the absolute cutting edge of maritime technology at the time, Liyue dared to cross the treacherous dark ocean. They had secured a crucial advantage, the rare Maharsh Wood, which was ideal for constructing long-life, long-distance naval vessels. This ensured their ships could sail further and last longer than any rival. Quite remarkable, isn't it? Their expeditions led to epoch-making discoveries, the massive continent of Ashtalia and the distant islands of Intoya, also known as Hoshansu. Almost overnight, Liyue was transformed from a regional power into a multi-continental global empire. This rapid, successful expansion was, honestly, a paradigm change for the entire world. The center of global power moved decisively from land-based trade routes to the absolute command of the seas. Liyue immediately established colonial bases and trade hubs across the Inazuma archipelago, exploiting their resources and labor. This aggressive success inevitably ignited a long, bitter global naval and colonial race among other emerging powers. A key player in this expansion was the Western Forter Company, founded around 11,600 AC. This powerful entity was granted a state-sanctioned monopoly over critical resources, most notably the durable Maharsh Wood and the essential crimson salt. The company grew to become a quasi-independent power, fielding its own sophisticated navy and military forces. It was this strategic fusion of naval might, exclusive resources, and quasi-private economic dominance that solidified Liyue's long-term strategic advantage and laid the foundation for the intense industrial and ideological conflicts that would soon define the modern history of the Iris planet. As the sun began to set on Liyue's maritime dominance, the global focus shifted dramatically. From the control of sea lanes to the mastery of the factory floor, the colonial age gave way to the age of steam, iron, and innovation. The first industrial age, the great race begins. The first industrial age, around the 1400s AC, was defined by a fierce, unprecedented industrial race. The two nations that embraced this technological revolution most fiercely were Fontaine and Snezhnaya. While the old colonial powers, like Liyue, were complacent with their accumulated wealth from overseas exploitation, they tragically missed the first industrial revolution entirely, suffering a profound technological lag that would soon cost them their global supremacy. Meanwhile, Fontaine and Snezhnaya rapidly built vast industrial bases, transforming their agrarian landscapes into centers of manufacturing. Their competition was not just economic. It was a race to produce faster trains, bigger steamships, and, crucially, superior weaponry. They understood that in this new age, technological superiority was the ultimate form of power. The Second Industrial Age, beginning around 14,650 AC, saw the industrial race deepen and intensify. The focus, expanded beyond steam and iron into electricity, chemicals, and internal combustion. The rivalry between the two industrial giants, Fontaine and Snezhnaya, evolved from mere competition into a tense Cold War. This was a systemic confrontation fought not with armies, but through economic pressure, espionage, proxy conflicts in unaligned territories, and a relentless global arms buildup. This growing industrial divide forced the rest of the world to react. Realizing the existential threat posed by technologically superior rivals, nations like Liyue and even the colonized territory of Inazuma were compelled to modernize. Liyue, severely delayed, finally began its Second Industrial Age modernization around 14,650 AC, a desperate effort to salvage its global status. Inazuma, still largely an agrarian society under external influence, also attempted to begin its industrial and administrative reforms. However, these changes were, honestly, painfully slow and insufficient. Even as the rest of the world marched toward modern mechanized warfare, Inazuma remained a predominantly agrarian state during the forthcoming global conflicts. The accumulated stress of this industrial imbalance, the intense economic pressure between the Cold War rivals, and the deep, persistent resentment in the slower-to-modernize territories created a global pressure cooker. The stage was set for the ideological explosions and total conflicts that would shatter the world order forever. World War II. The accumulated stress of the industrial ages, the simmering colonial resentments, and the fierce rivalry between Fontaine and Snezhnaya finally created a global pressure cooker. The world order, built on Liyue's naval dominance, was shattered by the ideological and mechanized conflicts of the 20th century. The tensions erupted into World War II around 15,050 to 15,065 AC. This war marked the full transition to mechanized warfare, showcasing the terrifying industrial capacity of the leading powers. It was a brutal conflict fought primarily between the industrialized nations. This highlights a stark global reality. Nations like Inazuma, despite their vast populations, remained largely agrarian states during the war, their fate still determined by external industrial powers. The fallout from World War II created a fertile ground for radical ideas. In the turbulent interwar period, leftist and nationalist political movements surged across the planet, demanding self-determination and radical societal change. In the Inazuma archipelago, decades of colonial influence and failed modernization efforts led to a massive uprising. A populist revolution successfully overthrew the absolute rule of the Raiden shogun. In 15,071 AC, this led to the founding of the Socialist Union of Inazumlea Republics, the first socialist state on the Iridescent Planet. This revolution was echoed in Snezhnaya, where a communist coup successfully established the Socialist Federation of the North Polar Sea, solidifying a massive ideologically driven counterblock to the Western powers. But the era of socialism was immediately challenged by an even darker force. The aggressive rise of Nazism in Mondstadt culminated in the birth of the fanatical Mondstadt Reich. Driven by expansionist ideology, the Reich plunged the world into the even more devastating World War III by declaring war against the so-called Third Fascist Axis. This war was a conflict of total mobilization, utilizing the full terror of the Second Industrial Age's advancements. Though the Mondstadt Reich achieved horrifying early successes, its fanaticism and overextension eventually led to its defeat. The collapse of the Reich was not a peaceful surrender. It disintegrated into decades of bloody civil wars and warlordism, from 15,130 to 15,166 AC, leaving a vacuum in the global power structure. This chaos forced the remaining major powers, ideological rivals and technological equals, to face each other directly, ushering in a new, nuclear-tinged reality. The world was now standing on the precipice of the final and most dangerous chapter of its modern history. Following the collapse of the Mondstadt Reich and the brutal world wars, the global power structure was reset, entering the most dangerous phase of its modern history, the quadripartite Cold War. This was not the simple East-West conflict of the previous century, but a complex, agonizing rivalry between four main poles for global dominance. Fontaine, the established Western industrial power; the Federal Kingdom of Inazuma, the newly emergent Eastern power; the Socialist Federation of the North Polar Sea; Snezhnaya, the Northern Communist Bloc; the Republic of Rosakor, the other major regional power with growing influence. This new rivalry would not be settled by colonialism or conventional weapons, but by nuclear deterrence and technological supremacy. Before this new system could fully stabilize, Inazuma had to endure its final bloody chapter. Following the military coup that overthrew the socialist regime, the Inazuma Civil War, which lasted from 15,171 to 15,177 AC, erupted, a devastating six-year conflict among communist, fascist and royalist factions. Ultimately, the royalists prevailed, leading to the return of the Raiden shogun to the throne and the establishment of the Third Kingdom of Inazuma. While this new system was superficially parliamentary, it remained functionally a closed oligarchy dominated by the royal family and nobility. However, the critical shift occurred with the accession of Raiden Ayaka following the shogun's death. Ayaka recognized that survival in a competitive nuclear world required more than repression. It demanded global legitimacy and sustainable internal strength. Ayaka spearheaded sweeping reforms over a quarter century, from 15,177 to 15,202 AC. The goal was to transition Inazuma from an authoritarian, repressive state to a modern democracy. These reforms culminated in the nation's first genuine parliamentary elections, transforming the country into a constitutional parliamentary federal kingdom. Inazuma had achieved a crucial, albeit delayed, political modernization, granting it the stability necessary to enter the new global race as a legitimate great power. The conflict in this Cold War was not merely ideological or economic, it was a nuclear race threatening global annihilation. This era ushered in a shock that changed the rules of engagement forever. It began with Fontaine, which stunned the world by conducting the first successful nuclear test. The North Pole Union, Snezhnaya, quickly followed with the second test, confirming a balance of terror. But the most significant event was the successful third nuclear test performed by Inazuma. This act decisively transformed the nation from a backward agrarian colony into an unavoidable global nuclear power. These tests gave birth to the concept of mutually assured destruction, or MAD, on the Iridescent Planet. Suddenly, waging total war became an impossibility for the great powers. This halted large-scale conventional wars and forced the four powers to channel their conflict into other fronts: proxy wars, espionage, and advanced technological control. Nuclear deterrence became the new precarious guardian of global peace. The nuclear reality accelerated the transition to the Third Industrial Age. This age is not simply an arms race, but a comprehensive technological competition encompassing artificial intelligence, clean energy, and hyper-technologies. But the most critical and strategic new front is space. The two strategic moons, Remkas and Fossilors, are now the ultimate prizes, as their resources hold the key to dominance in this new era. Remkas, rich in uranium and platinum, represents the absolute key to nuclear power and long-term economic control. Fossilors, with its potential water resources and suitability for strategic space bases, serves as a crucial launchpad for deeper space hegemony. Today, the four major powers are locked in an intense Cold War, with their eyes and resources focused firmly on space. This present moment is the culmination of a long history of naval dominance, ideological strife, and industrial revolutions. The future of the Iris planet, marked by its tumultuous past, is no longer confined to its atmosphere. It hangs upon the control of these two distant moons, in a race that may determine the fate of the entire world.